Lesson 11, Dealing with Extreme Weather, Hurricanes in the Caribbean, Part 2. Last time we talked about what a hurricane is and how a hurricane is formed. And today we're going to talk about how to track, how to prepare for a hurricane, what happens during a hurricane, and what do you do after a hurricane has hit. So Part 5, Tracking and Preparing for a Hurricane. Hold on, the pilot says to his crew, we're going in. The plane shakes violently as it enters the storm's eye wall, which the pilot compares to going through a car wash while gorillas jump on the roof of the car. But suddenly, the shaking stops because the plane has reached the calm eye of the hurricane. This plane and its crew are part of a special Air Force unit called the Hurricane Hunters. The Hurricane Hunters fly into tropical storms to record weather data such as wind speed, wind direction, pressure, and temperature. The work is dangerous, but the crews believe that what they learn is worth the risks. The bottom line for all of us, says a pilot, is that we do save lives. The Hurricane Hunters work with meteorologists to track the paths of tropical storms. The meteorologists use satellite images and data collected by the flight crews to decide when a storm has become a hurricane. At that point, they give the hurricane a name. Meteorologists have alphabetical lists of male and female names to use in naming hurricanes. The name of the year's first hurricane always begins with the letter A. When an especially destructive hurricane hits land, its name is retired and never used again. Since 1954, at least 70 hurricane names have been retired. Once meteorologists have determined the track of a storm, they warn people in its path. When a storm might hit land within 24 to 36 hours, they issue a hurricane watch. When the storm is less than 24 hours away, they issue a hurricane warning. These predictions are not always perfect, but they do give people a chance to prepare for the storm. Meteorologists use the Saffir-Simpson scale to rate the strength of a hurricane. This scale rates hurricanes from 1 to 5. The higher the number, the more damage the storm can potentially cause. This information helps people decide whether to board up their windows and stay home, or to seek a safer shelter away from the coast. Storms often change ratings as they travel. In 2003, Hurricane Isabel stayed at level 5 for over 30 hours, making it one of the longest-lasting Category 5 storms that was ever recorded. Getting ready for a hurricane. These people in the picture here are preparing for a hurricane. People in this region, the Caribbean, know how to prepare for big storms. Hurricane survival kits typically include these things: water, 1 gallon a day per person for 3 to 7 days. Food, enough to feed people and pets for 3 to 7 days. First aid kit and medicines. Blankets and clothes. Flashlights and batteries. Battery-powered radio, and tools for repairing storm damage. So if you ever move someplace that gets a lot of hurricanes, or you're visiting someplace that gets a lot of hurricanes, you should keep these things in mind and make sure you have them. Make sure you have food and water, and definitely batteries to go with your battery-powered radio and your flashlights. Scientists rate hurricanes using the Saffir-Simpson scale. Category 5 storms are the most dangerous, but less powerful storms can also be deadly. So here we have Category 1 hurricane. It looks like the wind is blowing a bit, the water is a little higher than usual, but not close enough to hitting the houses. You can see the trees are moving, but the houses still seem intact. So you probably would just board up your house and go to the basement and wait the storm out. A Category 2 hurricane, you can see some shingles on the houses are kind of pulling away, and the trees are moving a little bit harder. Clothes on the clothesline are flying a bit. The car looks like it's been turned a bit, and the water is slowly creeping up. We call it a storm surge, the water that is pushed onto the shore. So the water is slowly creeping up towards the houses. Here you got our Category 3 hurricane. More shingles are coming off the houses. The water is now on land. The trees are blown over. The cars pushed back a bit. Category 4 hurricane. Almost all the shingles are off. The water is approaching the house, so it's high enough on land that it can reach the houses that are set far enough back. Our car has been flipped over. Our clothesline is destroyed. Our trees are falling on the ground. In our Category 5 hurricane, the worst hurricane, the water is fully on land. Houses definitely destroyed. People in those houses, if anybody was silly enough to stay inside the house during a Category 5 hurricane, probably aren't going to be making it. Car gone, trees gone, clothes have been washed but are also gone. Landfall. A natural disaster begins. When a hurricane hits land, its power is truly awesome. The wind is at a ferocious roar and coming in powerful bursts, wrote a reporter who witnessed Hurricane Ivan's landfall in Jamaica in 2004. Even stepping outside for a minute would mean serious injury, or worse. Hurricane Ivan has arrived in all its fury, and it's terrible indeed. When a hurricane strikes, it lashes everything in its path with wind and rain. The most powerful hurricanes carry winds with speeds as great as 200 miles per hour. Such fierce winds can uproot trees or snap them in half. The winds are also powerful enough to shatter windows, blow off roofs, flip over cars, and hurl boats through the air. Heavy hurricane rains often cause terrible flooding. They can also loosen rocks and soil on hillsides, sometimes resulting in deadly mudslides that crush everything in their path. In 1998, a Category 5 hurricane called Mitch dropped more than 75 inches of rain on Honduras, a small Central American country bordering the Caribbean Sea. The rain caused devastating floods and mudslides that killed about 11,000 people. The most destructive feature of a hurricane is the storm surge, that wall of water that's pushed ashore by the storm. A storm surge can rise as much as 33 feet above sea level, which is as high as a 3-story building. When this wall of water hits land, it is capable of destroying everything in its path. Storm surges cause about 9 out of every 10 deaths that result from hurricanes. The more powerful the hurricane, the higher the storm surge is likely to be. In 1999, a Category 4 storm named Lenny hit several Caribbean islands. In St. Croix, Lenny's 15-foot storm surge knocked over power poles, threw boats up on the shore, and destroyed a ballpark. On the island of St. Lucia, dozens of people were left homeless when their homes were washed away. A Category 5 storm named Katrina tore through the Caribbean region in 2005. Katrina's storm surge flattened levees that protected the U.S. city of New Orleans from flooding. When the storm ended, much of New Orleans was underwater. The storm damage was so widespread and serious that Katrina became the costliest Atlantic hurricane of all time. Miss Reams here. Take a little pause break from watching this video and click the link below or wherever to watch this video about Hurricane Katrina and how it was formed and what happened and how the aftermath of it. Supposed to be put in here. Nat Geographic doesn't like it. So pause video, watch that video, then continue this video. Cool. Bye. So as you saw in that video, hurricanes are insane. Small ones are just like some air that is blowing on your face, but a little bit harder. But when you get to Category 4 and 5, those cause insane disasters, insane everything, really. I don't even know how to explain. You witness the houses that were being torn down, the amount of people who passed away because of the storm. No one can prepare exactly for a hurricane. They're so wishy-washy. They come and they go, and you don't know when they're going to touch land or what level they're going to be at when they hit land. or how long they're going to be at that level. So, cleaning up after a natural disaster. A hurricane can have a very powerful impact, but the problems do not end when the storm moves on. Although the hurricane itself may be over, the effects of the natural disaster continue. So we have a picture here. It says rescuing survivors of Jian. I don't know how to pronounce that. These people are waiting for assistance in Haiti after Hurricane Jian, in 2004. About 3,000 people died as a result of flooding and mudslides. Many Haitians have never fully recovered from this disaster. And that was 16 years ago. Hurricane Katrina was 15 years ago. Fortunately, hurricanes do not last forever. Hurricane John, which was the world's longest running storm, lasted nearly a month and crossed approximately 5,000 miles of ocean. However, most hurricanes die out sooner than that, mainly as a result of encountering land. Hurricanes die when they lose their primary source of energy. Remember that these storms need warm ocean water to keep them going. When the storm hits land or cross over to cool water, they begin to weaken. In the Caribbean region, hurricanes can cross an island and then pick up force on the other side. However, they lose steam when they encounter large land masses such as the United States or Mexico, usually dying out within a few days. So like we saw in that video, Hurricane Katrina kept growing and growing and growing, and it reached level category 5 of a hurricane. But when it started touching land in the United States, getting closer to New Orleans, it lost some of that strength. So the guy mentioned it returned to a level 4 hurricane. So it started losing its strength. But that doesn't mean it's completely weak now. It just means it's starting to slow down. After a hurricane has passed, the people living in its path face the task of rebuilding, which is often an enormous challenge. A hurricane may destroy many of the homes on a hard-hit island. It may damage schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, and power lines. Many people may be left homeless, and hunger and disease may become a serious problem. The first task after a storm passes is to rescue the people who were caught in the wreckage. Relief agencies are set up to find and treat the injured, and relief workers supply food, water, shelter, and clothing to people in need. The next task is cleaning up after the storm. The floodwaters have to be drained from the low-lying areas. The water and sewage lines have to be repaired in order to provide clean water and sanitation. The roads need to be cleared, electrical power has to be restored, and damaged buildings must be knocked down. All of this work requires time and money, and it can take months or even years for a Caribbean island to fully recover from a severe hurricane. Alright, here's our quick summary. So, in Lesson 11, we learned about extreme weather in the Caribbean region, learned how tropical cyclones started and how they develop into deadly storms. We read about the methods meteorologists use to analyze and track tropical cyclones, and we learned how natural disasters caused by these storms affect people and communities throughout the Caribbean. Tropical cyclones are tremendously destructive, but they are not the only example of extreme weather. Tornadoes, blizzards, and heavy rains can all do great harm as well. Most parts of the world experience some form of extreme weather. In the United States, primarily in the Midwestern and Southern states, tornadoes rip through towns and destroy property every spring. During the winter months, blizzards can block roads, knock out power lines, and interrupt air travel. The story is much the same on other continents. For instance, heavy rains called monsoons often cause flooding in South Asia. Sandstorms in part of Africa can destroy crops, fill wells with sand, and force people from their homes. El Niño plays a key role in extreme weather. As you've learned, El Niño is a warm ocean current that flows from time to time along the Pacific coast of South America. When an El Niño occurs, it can trigger extreme weather in the Pacific region and in other parts of the world. A major El Niño appeared off the coast of South America in 1997 and 1998. This warming of the ocean caused heavy rains and flooding in South America and produced tornadoes in Florida. At the same time, it caused dry spells that led to wildfires in Southeast Asia, Australia, and Central America. Scientists are still trying to understand the role El Niño plays in extreme weather, but the effects are clear. You will look at El Niño's impact around the world in the next section. This map shows the warmer than usual ocean currents that develop during an El Niño year. Notice that the warmest ocean is located off the west coast of South America. As you might expect, the lands that are bordering the Pacific Ocean show the greatest effect from an El Niño. The west coast of North and South America experience weather that is wetter than usual, while the areas on the other side of the Pacific suffer from extremely dry weather. So if we take a peek at our sea surface temperature map, we can see our El Niño area. We're saying it's over here. This side, the United States, North America, South America, has above average sea surface temperature. And then all the way on this other side here, we're getting the below average. So it's kind of like this area is sucking up all of the warm water and pushing it to this side, and then leaving the rest of the world to have cooler temperatures than normal. This table includes data on some extreme weather events that occurred in the United States between the years 2006 and 2016. An El Niño can affect weather in ways that you might not expect. Many of these years were considered to be El Niño years. As shown in the table of extreme weather events, there were fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic region during those years. Meanwhile, there were also fewer extreme temperature events in the United States than in average years. So our extreme temperature events in 2006 and 7, they said that was an El Niño year. We'll look a bit higher, okay, 560, 590. 2008 was not, and we dipped a bit. 490, so 100 difference. When we get to 2014 through 16 though, our extreme temperature events are above 600. We're getting to 700s now. Our hail events, a lot of them in 2016. Just how an El Niño shapes climate is not yet fully understood. But the more meteorologists learn about the factors that shape our climate, the better they will become at accurately predicting extreme weather. This improvement in weather prediction, in turn, could help people to better prepare for natural disasters that are caused by weather. So that's all we've got today for social studies. We talked about hurricanes and the effect that they have on the world. On Friday, we're going to be starting talking about land use conflict in the Amazon rainforest. We're now getting to South America. Yeah, that's all I got. Go work on your worksheet, and I'll see you on Friday. Goodbye!